Hi guys, this is video 2 of topic 14. You can rule off after yesterday's homework and you can write down the date and the heading, which is composite shapes. Alright, so what are composite shapes? They're basically just a shape that can be divided into two or more other shapes. Okay, so for example, here's an example of a composite shape on the screen. So it's basically one massive polygon that can be divided into normal shapes that we're used to, like triangles and rectangles and squares, etc. Alright, so what they've done is they've said calculate the area of A, B, C, D, E. So I need to calculate all of these shapes and then add them together to calculate the total area. Alright, they've split the shape up into tons of shapes. I'm not going to split it up the same way they do. What you could have done is you could have actually just split it up into left and right. Okay, so this left shape here is a trapezium, and then this right shape here is a triangle. So you could have just worked them out that way, but I'm not going to do it like that. I'm going to work out this triangle, then I'm going to work out this rectangle, this big rectangle here, then I'm going to work out the small triangle, and then this big triangle on the right hand side. Okay, so let's start. So I know that triangle area is equal to a half base times height. Okay, my base, I know that this is 4, which means that I know this is 4, so my base is 4. And my height will be 2, so a half of 4 times 2, which is 4. Okay, then I'm going to move down into those rectangles, but I'm going to do them all as 1, so that whole thing. Alright, so an area of a rectangle is equal to length times breadth. My length is this long side, so 4 plus 2, which is 6. And then my breadth will be the shorter side, so that will be 4. So I'm saying 6 times 4, which will give me 24 centimeters squared. Then I'm going to move into my triangles, so this yellow triangle, again using the area formula of a triangle, which is a half base times height. So my base will be equal to 4. Okay, so if that side is 4, it must mean that this is also 4, so 4 times 1. Okay, so if I substitute that in, a half times 4 times 1, which is 2. Okay, so I've worked out all the areas of the left-hand side of the shape. Okay, and that's what I've got. Then I'm going to calculate the right-hand side all as 1. Okay, so that large purple triangle, that's equal to a half base times height. Alright, so I'm going to have to calculate my base. So my base will be 2 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1, which will give me 9. And then my height, there it is equal to 5. So a half of 9 times 5, which is 22,5. Alright, I'm not done. So now I've calculated them all separately, but I still need to give the total. So I still need to add all of them together to give the total area of A, B, C, D, E. So if I do that, I'm going to say total area is equal to 4 plus 24 plus 2 plus 22,5. And if I work that out, I'm going to get 52,5 centimeters squared. Okay, so now I've calculated the total area. That's a very common question in a test or an exam or anything like that. They love to give composite shapes because they can test a number of different formula in one question. Okay, they might also ask you to calculate the perimeter. Okay, so if you want, you can just copy it down again so that you can make notes and stuff on your diagram, but they ask you to calculate the perimeter of the whole shape. Okay, so if you remember from the last video, the perimeter doesn't include all of the stuff inside. Okay, so I can actually just go ahead and erase all of the stuff inside because I don't need to work with it. I only want the outside outline of the shape. That's what I'm adding. Okay, so some of the outsides I already have and I don't need to calculate. Some of them I do need to calculate. Okay, this line over here, I've already got. Okay, if I look at the opposite side of that rectangle, it's 4. So I know that this side is also equal to 4. And same thing here. Okay, I know that this side of that rectangle is equal to 2, which means the other side of the rectangle must also be equal to 2. Alright, so I've got those two already. Unfortunately, all of these slanted sides I need to calculate. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to do that. Let's start with the top. Okay, so I'm going to start with line AB, and I'm going to work inside that right angle triangle. Okay, so I've got a right angle triangle, which means I can use Pythag. Okay, so that line AB would be the hypotenuse, the longest side of the right angle triangle. Okay, there's my right angle, it's opposite my right angle. So I'm going to say AB squared, which is the hypotenuse squared, is equal to 2 squared plus 4 squared. Pythag. That gives me 4 plus 16, which is 20. Okay, but now watch what I do. Because I'm going to have to add all the stuff together, when I square root, I'm going to leave it in surd form. Okay, because I don't want to round off too early. I only want to round off all my decimal places at the end. If I round off my decimal places too early, my final answer is going to be wrong. Okay, so when I square root 20, I've just left it as 2 square root 5. And then only in my final answer, I'll round off. Okay. All right, then I'm going to carry on by working out ED. So this bottom line here. So ED, I'm working in that triangle. So ED squared will be equal to 1 squared plus 4 squared. That will give me 17. And if I square root that, I'm going to again leave it in surd form because I don't want to mess up my decimals. So DE is equal to square root of 17. Okay, then I'm going to move on to BC. Okay, so BC is equal to BC squared will be equal to 6 squared plus 5 squared. Pythag, that will give me 61, and then I square root to get BC alone. So I've got the square root of 61. Same thing for DC. So DC will be equal to 5 squared. Okay, so there's my 5 squared plus 3 squared. Okay, so I've got that 2 plus 1, so 3 squared. That will give me 25 plus 9, which is 34, and I need to square root that. Alright, so I've calculated all the sides that I need to calculate, and I've got the other sides, which are 4 and 2. Okay, so basically I'm working with something that looks like this. So there's all my sides. Alright, like I said, we don't need anything from the inside, so I'm just going to go ahead and erase all of that. And now I can find my perimeter. So my perimeter will be equal to all of the sides. The sum of all of those sides, I add them together, and now I've rounded off, so now I'm going to get 28,24 centimeters squared. Okay, so notice that I only rounded off at the end. If I rounded off too early, then I might have got left with like 28,23 or 28,25, and then I've got the wrong decimal, so that's why I only round off at the end. Alright. For homework, I want you to do exercise 14.2 on page 155. So you need to do number 1A, 2B, and 2C. Okay, so let's just quickly talk about 2B. So everyone looking at 2B, calculate the area of the shaded region. So you're looking for this pink part. Okay, imagine that they've erased a rectangle from that circle. So what have you done? You're calculating the area of a circle and you're erasing or subtracting the area of a rectangle. Okay, you might have to draw in some lines here to help you figure out what the diameter and the radius of that is. Okay, this one's probably the most difficult one of the exercise, but I'd like to see who actually gets this one. Alright, good luck guys.